What is going on? How you doing? Welcome. I'm just finishing a cuppa. Sam made me a cuppa. I say made me a cuppa. The kettle's already boiled, and it's quite nice. So I'm just finishing that off while we wait for people to come along. Welcome to the Podcast Launch Accelerator launch. Podcast Launch Accelerator launch, a podcast accelerator launch program. I'm going to talk you through our brand new flagship podcast launch course, which is absolutely badass. I'm not going to lie to you. It is fantastic. It's going to annoy a lot of gurus, a lot of people that start podcasting and then start to teach podcasting because they know how to press Anyway, let's not get into that because I go mad on it. It's a really in-depth course, all right? I've spent a lot of time personally on it. Rachel has worked hard with me on it. Sam, Kieran, everyone here at the Rebel Base Media Studios working hard on Captivate, but of course working hard on our academy as well. So I'm going to talk you through it. I'm going to let people filter in, say hello. So drop me a line. Let me know what you're working on. We've got Michael Rodriguez. We've got Screen Acting Success from Toronto. We've got Sam, of course. We've got Danny and Tiff on our team. I can see people coming in. So I'm just going to leave it a little while, and then we're going to dig in. Now, you might notice that Baby Yoda's back there. If you see anything moving, blame him. We all know what the situation is there. Oh, dear. Looks a lot darker in here than it really is. You know, it's all this fancy lighting. So let me know what you've been up to. Let me know what's been going on. Well, welcome to Tiff, our brand new podcast support expert. Joined us very recently after Christmas. So welcome, Tiff. Glad you're online and helping out. Maybe Kieran will drop in. Doug Piper is here. Shall we see if Kieran's going to drop in? Yeah, hopefully. May the force be with you, sir, as well. Runners Health Club. No, Runners Health Hub. I apologize. Good to see you. Screen Acting Success. Good to see you too. Good to see everyone. Let me know what you've been working on. Let me know what's going on. The agenda for today is I'm going to talk to you about what we've developed. But first, I'm going to tell you why we developed it. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background. I'm going to talk you through how we're going to help you moving forward. Then I'm going to give you the course. Then I'm going to give you the crib sheet again that I unveiled a couple of weeks ago. But I'm going to give you a screen share. I'm going to walk you through that course, all right? Because it is pretty freaking sweet, all right? So we'll get to that in a sec. We're just going to let a few more people filter in. But let me know what you've been working on. Naming your podcast, social media handles, trademarks, etc. Aha, well, interestingly, we're going to talk all about that. And it's all in the course. Now, the trademark one's an interesting one. If you look here on the YouTube channel, we do have a video, which is how to trademark, or should you trademark your podcast name? And if you are thinking about doing that, reach out to my good friend, Mr. Gordon Firemark. We hang about really at Podfest and Podcast Movement. He's a great guy. We went to see Captain Marvel together randomly. He is the podcast lawyer and he works on these things. So if you're thinking about that, highly recommend Gordon Firemark. Tell him that Mark sent you and he might cut you a deal. I don't know. It depends. I guess it depends what kind of mood he's in. But he's fantastic. It really is. We've got Scott Bryan Comstock. Good to see you, mate. You're always around. Thank you very much. You're like Superman. I'm always around, Lois. Good to see you. North Carolina. Hey, Diane and John. Good to see you. Lincoln, Nebraska. Yes, Gordon is a great guy. He's a great guy. He does. Great work. Nashville, Tennessee. Good to see you. Right, shall we get to it then? Shall we get to it? I think we should get to it. So, podcasting. Everyone wants to do it, but frankly, launching one can be really quite difficult. So there's a lot of advice out there. I know there's a lot of advice out there because obviously everyone's teaching you how to start a podcast now. There's nothing wrong with that, but the problem is that a lot of people don't work in podcasting every single day. They don't see the entire cross-section of the people who've got 100 grand to put into a podcast launch, down to the people that are spending 1 hour a week on it. They don't produce podcasts like we do. They don't have a hosting company like we do. They don't see the range of things that, frankly, can be confusing. And a lot of the time, podcast advice is really all about just look at me, I know more than you, or it's about a range of options with no clear decision. And that is a huge problem. And it kind of frustrates me. What I tend to find, and this really kind of upsets me, is that people start a podcast and then what they do is after they've been doing it 2 months, they then profess to be able to teach people how to start a podcast. They can, but that's like me teaching you piano. I can play Jurassic Park on it, but I can't teach you Bach or Beethoven, and I can't teach you theoretical fundamentals. I can't teach you exercise, and I ain't going to teach you the scales. I can teach you Jurassic Park. It's not the same flow, okay? Just because someone has started one doesn't mean that they should be selling tutoring. So I decided to create a course that is completely free, and it is free. Of course, it includes recommendations to Captivate. Of course, it includes recommendations to other things that I think you should be using. But the kicker is this. This course is completely free, no strings attached. It's got an entirely free accompanying crib sheet, which I'll show you again in a second, which includes exercise by exercise by exercise, how you construct and build and launch your podcast. But the beautiful thing about this course is it's delivered in my style, which is straight to the point. There's no kind of BS. There's no, well, it's up to you. No. There's none of that. It's, here are the 4 microphones that I think are great. Choose that one for this reason. These 3 are fantastic and they serve a purpose for other things. But right now, if you're just launching, choose that one. So I take all of this decision-making fear, this paralysis out of the mix, all right? And I do that every step of the way. I'll tell you exactly what tool to use for editing. I'll tell you how much editing you should be doing. I talk to you about designing, what to do with your cover art, where to get your cover art from, things that you don't need to worry about. And you know what? I don't even talk about new and noteworthy. I don't talk about things that are old. I don't talk about advice that's out of date. I give you a strategy to launch your podcast today in 2021 and set it up for the future. And these tactics are things that the biggest podcasters in the world do. I'm talking, because frankly, you know, we're in podcasting every single day. I'm talking, I can work with people from Wondery to Jerry Anderson's network through Jamie, to all sorts of fantastic celebrities launching their shows, down to the people like you and I launching our hobby shows, our entrepreneurial shows, or our business shows. So I've analyzed all of these tactics, and all of these tactics are in this course from pre-launch to the week of launch. All right. What to do afterwards. So this course is the Podcast Launch Accelerator. Launch your podcast, find your first 100 listeners, and cover your costs in just 28 days. Now, did you know most podcasters don't actually hit 100 listeners? So if we can get you to that, you're better than the majority. Most people aren't making a penny from their podcast. So if we can get you covering your hosting costs, guess what? You're succeeding more than most people. That's the angle that I've taken. And you know me, if you've ever done anything with me in the past, if you've seen any of my videos, if you've listened to the Podcast Accelerator podcast, which is my show, if you've been seeing me speak at events, if you've used Captivate podcast websites, you know that everything that I do is all about helping you. So let's go through the crib sheet. Then I'm going to give you the course. I'm going to tell you how to get it and what to do. And that's the agenda for today. I'm just going to give you that course. All right. I'm going to walk you through it and give you it. But before I get to that, a quick heads up. Starting next month, we're going to run one webinar every single month around launching a podcast. The launch of this course will be out of the way, and we're going to get to the nitty-gritty of the 4 big things that will stop you launching your podcast. There are only 4 reasons that podcasters don't launch. 4. Which one is stopping you? Well, the cool thing is this course handles those as well. So next month, we're going to be doing webinars just on those 4 things, helping to demystify them and so on and so forth. But I've also taken care of them in the Podcast Launch Accelerator course. Okay. So you don't have to worry about imposter syndrome or being worried about no one listening. You don't have to worry about technology and the jargon that goes with it. You don't have to worry about thinking, what do I talk about? I can't think of anything to talk about, but I want to do a podcast. We crushed that. And the last one, honestly, time and overwhelm. We crush it. It's step 1, step 2, 5-minute modules, exercises, actions, all in the crib sheet. All right. So we're going to step through that. So that's just a look ahead at what's coming next month. So what have we got? Good question. I'll get to some questions in a second. Over here, Sam's going to collate. So I'm going to be looking at the questions over here as they come in. So Sam's going to be collating them. I'm going to get to some of the questions in a second. I'm going to talk through the crib sheet, talk through the course, then we'll get to some questions. So if you have any questions, boom, 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 pop them in the comments. We'll get right to it. All right. So don't worry if I don't get to the question immediately. They are all being collated. All right. So let's do the crib sheet. So this is it's a PDF download that you can use either electronically or you can print it out and you can bind it. And it's a full how to start a podcast crib sheet. All right. I unveiled it last time and I'm going to show you it just one more time before we get to the course. So what we're going to do right here is talk through this crib sheet. And you should be seeing my screen right now. Let me just change this background. There we go. Put some leaves in the back. Oh, no, we don't want leaves. Turn that off. We'll keep it nice and dark. So this is the Podcast Launch Accelerator crib sheet. It is fantastic. So we've got a comment in there, Rob, right here. I can't pick the right name for my podcast at the moment. Well, guess what? The crib sheet and the exercises that I give you will help you with that. So the first thing that we talk about is how to generate ideas. And that then leads us to actually what we're trying to achieve. What are we doing this for? And how are we going to do this? The avatar, XYZ statement, which then, Rob, means that we can build our podcast name. Because a lot of people start a podcast thinking, I'm going to quickly name it because that's the easy bit. But how can you name something unless you know why? Or unless you know the background and the context? So we work through all of that in this crib sheet. Before we even get to the show name, really the show name presents itself because you've done the pre-work, all right? So we're going to get into that via the crib sheet as well. And this crib sheet really is fantastic. It talks you through a tagline. It talks you through a publishing time. I talk to you about pros and cons of when you should be publishing, the best time to publish. I talk to you about the days of the week to publish. I teach you something that no one else teaches, which is something that I call notables, notable elements of your show. No one in podcasting is teaching that, all right? Notables. I talk to you about that. I talk to you about the pre-roll, the mid-roll, the post-roll. My job is to set you up for success with your sponsors in the future. So if you understand what these things are early and how they work with calls to action and how we can design calls to action, when you get a sponsor, you already are talking their language. You're not on the back foot. So I'm setting you up for that success with your sponsors. We talk about your audio assets, how to write an intro, how to write an outro. Do you need an intro? What kind of intro do you want? The pros and cons of different types. The script, the outro. We talk about your episode flow. We design step by step so that when it comes to hitting record, you never have to worry. You've done the work. It's just record, boom, boom, boom. We zip through it and we create a fantastic episode. We talk about podcast cover art, and this is a really, really great part of the crib sheet because what this does is as long as you fill this in using the exercises in the course, you can take this page of the crib sheet and give it to a designer or use it yourself in Canva. You just take the sheet and give it to the design guys. That is it. Or use it yourself if you're building something in Canva, all right? Like I just wish I'd had this. I just wish I'd had this when I launched it. And podcast descriptions, categories, we talk about what those are and so on. But real ease of use stuff. An episode show notes template, just copy the template. Just take the template and copy it. You don't have to worry about designing your own. Just copy the template. It's there for you to have. Understanding tech. We talk about the microphones. We talk about any extras that you want, how you're going to record, the two categories of recording type, software, hardware. We talk about the 4 microphones that I recommend right now and which one you should choose. I give you demonstrations of them all. We talk about your hosting, and then we go ahead and we build your podcast. We talk about creating a trailer. Just steal this format. Just record off this format. It takes you minutes to get your trailer up and running. I give you a pre-recording checklist for you and your interview guests if you do an interview show, and how to publish a trailer and so on. And then, of course, we get to launch, to pre-launch, stage 1. Now, there's a question that's coming from Lewis, which is from the Screen Acting Success, which is why is new and noteworthy old news? I'll tell you about that because this is the better way to launch your podcast. Believe me, I see it every single day. And guess what? Being a hosting company, I have a direct line to how the Apple algorithms work. I get to talk to Apple and Amazon and Google and Spotify. We got those connections. We talk to them. We work with them. We get to see what works, all right? So I give you a pre-launch strategy for today, for 2021 and onwards, not back in the day, not something that's out of date. Then we talk about your actual launch week, all right? We go through that process and I give you all the resources that you might need. But the real cool thing with this is that it's all backed up, and I'm going to show you the course in a second. It's all backed up with support. Now, it feels like I'm selling something. I'm not. This is free. I don't want you to buy anything. There's no upsell at the end. I'm just telling you about it. All right. So we back this up with actual support. So what does that mean? Well, there's a free Podcast Launch Accelerator Facebook group that you can join right now. It's free. And it's got 3,300 people in there already, just like you, ready to start and launch their own podcast. Many of them have already done so. But here's a beautiful thing that no one knows yet. Starting tomorrow, Friday this week at 11 a.m. Eastern, every single Friday, I'm bringing something back that I did for nearly 5 years. I'm bringing back the free Coaching Friday. I'm bringing back office hours for you exclusively in the Podcast Launch Accelerator Facebook group. So that means that every single Friday, I'll be live in Facebook, just like this, to act as your mentor. If you have questions, thoughts, ideas, you need feedback, you have worries, I will do all of that live with you right there in the free coaching. It's the office hours component of this course, of this group, of this movement, of this community. And the cool thing about it is that that's every week. It's guaranteed. And if I'm ever on holiday, if I'm sick, you'll get someone else from Rebel Base Media that works in podcasting every day. You'll get Sam, you'll get Danny, you'll get Tiff, you'll get Kieran. You're going to get Rach, you're going to get Mark Musgrove. You're going to get Pierre, you're going to get Ed. You're going to get one of the team. You might even, if you're lucky, you might get the fabled new person joining us in February, whose voice is much silkier than mine. So this is all about support, all right? Accountability. I'm there with you every step of the way, okay? So that's something that we're bringing back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern, Podcast Launch Accelerator Facebook group, office hours, the free coaching. It's back, all right? I did it for 5 years. I had the last 9 months off. It is back. Hopefully Raf will turn up. Hope you're online, Raf. Oh, okay. Ashley, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to show you. It's in the course. I tell you exactly what to do. I tell you where to get it from. I tell you the pros and cons of each place you can get it. And I talk to you specifically about what type of music to use, whether you to use a music bed, whether to use a produced intro and outro or not. So we'll get to that. This is great. This is superb. So, quick question in from Louis. Is the crib sheet the course or is it an additional resource? It's an additional resource. It's the crib sheet. It's the exercise book. Now, I'm going to walk you through the course. I'm going to teach you how to get the course and I'm just going to give it to you. You can get it literally right now. Okay. Thanks, Rick. It's free as well. Come along. Alrighty then. Ready to do some screen share? I'm going to tell you about the course. Here we go, team. We are going to share me. You're going to see a weird thing. It's going to go, ready? Aha! How bizarre is that? Let me remove myself from here. Oh, did I remove my audio? Oops. Sam's just texted me in capital letters. Shall we do that again? Oh, bloody thing. All right, let me just screen share that. Let me bring myself back. You're going to see two of me. There we go. Sorry about that. That's StreamYard. When you pull yourself out of the stream, it pulls your audio out as well, unlike Ecamm, which doesn't do that. My bad. So the Podcast Launch Accelerator is right here. You'll get instant access to this dashboard, okay, right here instantly. And you can just get started. The course and the crib sheet is right there. You'll see some other things that we've got for you, like the webinars, like the weekly help with the office hours, and of course, some of the most recent courses that we've added to the Academy. Now, when you click this, you'll be able to go straight into the Launch Accelerator course, or you can click the courses tab. You'll see some of the other stuff, the quick overview of Captivate, the how to edit your podcast with Ali2 and so on, and some of the other stuff that we've got coming down the wire, Facebook ads for podcasters, the listener acquisition flow, how to pitch to sponsors, all stuff that we've got coming soon. But it's right here, the Podcast Launch Accelerator, right here, ready for you. Now, what you'll notice is that actually, I can track my progress through this. You've got the ability to bookmark things and save things. You can work on this course in your own time. But look, let me walk you through it step by step. From the welcome video, let me mute the tab. There we go. From the welcome video to the 4 big challenges, how to study, and so on. You've got your crib sheet. You've got the link to the office hours every week. You've got your equipment. Where do you get it from? And within every session that includes resources, you'll also see downloads and options underneath it. So let's quickly walk through this. Phase 1, designing your podcast. I don't just tell you how to do it. I walk you through step by step, exercise by exercise, finding the perfect podcast idea. Look at the thumbnail. Finding the perfect podcast idea. And what you'll see here is that this maps to the crib sheet. So what I do is I talk to you about very specific ideas and I give you the crib sheet. So when I talk to you about how to find a podcast idea, page 4 of the crib sheet is an exercise. So the course works in tandem with everything that you're doing, all right? The course and the exercise in the crib sheet give you everything that you need. I talk about your avatar, your XYZ statement. I give you additional resources, like my podcast episode about an avatar, your name and your tagline. I talk to you about the perfect release schedule and the perfect episode length. Your notables, what are podcast notables? Your calls to action. And of course, extra resources. Where to get, I think was it Ashley that asked this question? Where to get your audio from, your intro, your outro, what you should put in there. Should you have a big intro? Should you have a music bed? Should you have a script? Should you not? It's all in here and all the resources are there. Designing your podcast flow. We talk about segments and how to bundle them and how to create them. And guess what? It's all here in the crib sheet as well. It's all here in the crib sheet as well. It runs through segment by segment and you design your podcast piece by piece. Where to get your cover art from, templating, and so on. We then talk about podcast technology. I talk to you about the different types of podcasts, but then I take you in to the Rebel-Based Media podcasting studio. This is in the studio. I demonstrate the 4 microphones that I recommend for podcasting. I tell you specifically which one to get for you, for your setup. I tell you your recording equipment, the software or the hardware, the pros and cons of each, which to buy and why. Any extra tech, so you're not spending money on crap that you don't need. What else do you need? Well, you need some headphones. You need a boom arm. That's it. You probably don't need much else, all right? It's nice and straightforward, simple stuff. How to edit the podcast. Specifically, how much should you edit and where should you edit? What do you do? Some tips for making editing easier. Microphone technique. How to actually put together your episode in such a way that you can kind of just visually edit it. It's all there, all right? Talk to you about MP3 files. Explain what a podcast host is. What the heck is an RSS feed? How to book interview guests. And then phase 3 is building. writing the perfect podcast trailer, and I give you the script. All right? It's all in the crib sheet. I give you the script. It's there for you to use. Recording checklists. How to edit your trailer. How to set your podcast up in your podcast host. Publishing your podcast trailer. Recording every episode. How to do it. When to do it. Should you batch? Shouldn't you batch? Setting up your podcast website. Setting up your social media, including a tool to help you to find that elusive, perfect username. And then we go through launch, and this is the big one. How to pre-submit. How to get into the directories early. Why we need a marketing strategy. Launch stage phase 1. The pre-launch, in-depth checklist. Do this, do that. Get the PR together. Generate the buzz. Do these social assets. Do this on Facebook. Then, launch week. Exactly what to do for that week of your launch. Because it's not a day. You're not launching a day. It's a week. You've got to spend time on it. What to do. How to queue things up. Who to reach out to and when. Your presence promise. How do we be present? Then what to do after launch. How many downloads is good? What should my downloads be at? How are podcast downloads measured? How do you monetize from day one? How do you set Patreon up to do that? How to find your first 100 listeners? All bonus content that we step through. So this is just a fantastic course, all right? It's a fantastic piece of content. It works really, really well. It's simple. It's bite-sized. Everything you can work through. And what I wanted to do was make it so that you basically had the option of saying, look, I've only got 20 minutes to work on my podcast. That 20 minutes, let's make it useful, let's make it effective, let's make it actionable, and give you some tangible outcomes when you're just working on your show for 10, 15 minutes at a time, all right? The worst thing to do is just have 15, 20 minutes to work on your podcast and not achieve anything, because the next time you don't want to work on it because you didn't achieve anything last time. Step by step, by step, by step. 1, 2, decision, decision, action, action, exercise, exercise, and suddenly you have a podcast. All right. So that's the course. It's available now at podcastsuccessacademy.com. It's free. There's nothing that I'm trying to sell you. Literally nothing. There's nothing at all. It just helps you to launch a podcast. Does it recommend Captivate? Of course it does. Does it recommend a couple of other things that I really like Ali2? Of course it does. But that's my job, to find the best things and let you know what they are. Because there's so much advice out there and so much jargon. So many people with their own agendas. Let's just be clear on it, all right? Decision, decision, decision. That's all you need, okay? So go and check it out, podcastsuccessacademy.com. It's free. You don't need to do anything else other than go in there and you can start that course right now. Come to the office hours. That's something we're bringing back tomorrow in the Facebook group. You can come along to the office hours every week as many times as you want, 11 a.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. UK, 8 a.m. Pacific. I'll be there for 30 minutes, guaranteed, every Friday. If I get ill, if I'm away, one of the team will be there. Every week, without fail, one of us will be there, okay? That's what we do. So, I'm going to go out through the comments. Let's have a quick look. Great question from Rick. I've only got a podcast that I'm planning to relaunch and keep the current subscribers. Can I use the guide to do a rebrand the same way I would launch a new podcast? Yeah, you just go through the same process, the ideation. The only thing you wouldn't do is, rather than setting up a new podcast in Captivate, you would just change data in your existing podcast. That would keep your subscribers. So yes, Rick, you can do that, of course. What else have we got? Michael Rodriguez. What is your recommended platform for remote interviews and co-hosting? Squadcast. That's it. Squadcast. Just use that. Captivate.fm/Squadcast. I think it might get you a deal. Yeah. Zach and Rock do great work. They're great people. That's what I recommend highly. Squadcast. Yeah, sorry, I lost the audio when I removed myself. What else we got? Another question from Ashley. Could you talk about how you found your intro music and what to listen to to decide and find it difficult to find anything that is resonating. I talk about that in the course. So what you need, Ashley, is go to the podcast technology section. Oh, no, it's not. I'm lying to you. The design section, and click on the sourcing your intro and outro music. And I talk about it all in there. So go to the course, go to the designing your podcast section, sourcing your intro and outro music. And that should help you. That should help you. Question, what do I think of Clean Feed? It's all right. You know, it's good. There are so many products on the market. And this is what I'm trying to demystify. Just pick one. Clean Feed's all right. I choose Squadcast because it's reliable. It's been around longer. I think it's been around longer. And I know the founders, and I know how they do business. They do business like I do business, which is open and fairly, and they will help you. So pick one. I recommend Squadcast, but Clean Feed's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Super stuff. One from Kathleen that came up. Will this be in our channel saved? Yes, it will. It will be saved in our channel. So you can just watch this on a replay. And this is not the end of the line. This is not like a once and done webinar. This is just the launch of the course. All right. So it's always going to be here. We're always going to be around. West Coast Rob, yeah, it's a separate platform. So this is not a Captivate thing. It's not you have to be using Captivate. So we've kept the login separate because it's not a Captivate thing. It's a Rebel-based media thing. We make Captivate. We also make the Academy. We also make podcast websites. 3 separate things that help you in different ways. You can use the same email address, of course, but you can't log in with the same data for security purposes. Plus, frankly, we didn't want people that didn't want to use Captivate. They've already got a hosting platform to think, actually, I can't use that course. So it's entirely separate, but obviously very closely linked. Super stuff. Well, that's the launch. That is the course. I love it. I've been enjoying working on it. It's something that I've been kind of planning for the last year or two now. And it's something that I've really wanted to take my time over. And it's difficult to do anything when you're kind of working on building Captivate and you're building a software platform. But it's something that I feel passionate about, helping you with clear decision making. So I'm going to stay around for a little while. I'll stay around for another few minutes. Let me know what questions you have. I'll still be around. We can still answer a few. But go ahead and get signed up. podcastsuccessacademy.com. It's going to be a long-term thing. It's not a launch and done. It's a launch and let's go. All right. It's always going to be there. It will always help you. The office hours will always be around. Okay. Yeah, Ashley. Well, if you've already got an account, so it's saying that you've already got an account, just reset your password. Go through that process. Nice and easy. I know people do reset the password. You'll have signed up for the Academy in the past. Literally just click forgot password on the login screen. So click the login, forgot password, just like you would with anything else, where you've already got an account. Reset your password and you'll be all set. You'll be able to get in there. That's nice and easy. Michael, good. Glad to see you in there. Oops. Doug, go to captivate.fm and search for Amy. A-M-I-E. A-M-I-E. I think you'll like it. All right. Go to captivate.fm. Go to the blog and search for Amy or Sam or Danny or Tiff will drop a link in for you because that is what you need. There was another question that came in from Tawny. Does the course include anything about YouTube with podcasting? No, it doesn't, because frankly, I don't think it's worth it. Live streaming is different, but frankly, I don't think it's worth it. Even though Captivate has got some YouTube functionality on the beta radar at the minute that we're pushing out, I put a big case study out about it. Go to rebelbasemedia.io/blog. You'll see my case study. It shouldn't be anything that you worry about when you launch your podcast. It will dilute your launch. It will stop you focusing, but it'll make you feel really good because look at me, I've got a YouTube channel. It's diluting, all right? If you want to launch a podcast, launch a podcast, all right? Then let's add YouTube later. The data shows that it doesn't do that much for your show. In fact, it's detrimental because it takes a lot of time. That's a fact, all right? We've got the data, we've seen it, and it's just clear, okay? Live streaming's different, which I'll talk about separately. Live streaming is different, and it depends on your goals for your podcast and for your brand as well. Great question, Tony, but I wouldn't worry about YouTube for now. And that's from someone that has built YouTube functionality into Captivate, all right? And I'm still saying that. Cool, thanks, Doug. Yeah, we'll get Sam or Danny or Tiff to drop that Amy thing into the chat so you can see what Amy's all about as well. So like I said, I'm going to stick around for another few minutes. Let me know if there are any other questions. There is a support link on the Podcast Success Academy at the bottom. So if you do struggle with anything, hit the support link. We're always willing to help. I'll always be there to help, of course. So let me know what we can do. Like I said, this is the beginning. It's not just a launch and done. This is the beginning. Okay, this is the beginning. It's part of the next phase of what we're doing with Rebel Based Media, which is helping you to do better with your podcast. It's not just about helping you to launch. It's about helping you to grow and accelerate that growth into audio influence and monetization. All right, that's what we exist to do. That's what our business does. You know, we exist to help you with that stuff. So give it a whirl. Let me know how you get along with the course. I'd love some feedback on how you are finding it. I'd love some feedback on what you think. I'd love to see you in the Facebook group. I'd love to see you on the office hours. I'd love to see you working through that course. So let me know how I can help. Like I said, I'll stick around for another minute or two just to mop up any questions. But thank you for letting me do this. We do have another webinar coming up next month where we'll start to talk about those 4 big obstacles, those 4 big blockers around starting your podcast, okay? And we'll just talk about that in a little bit more depth. Sounds good. Yes, thank you, Dan. Really appreciate it. Thank you. I really appreciate that Runners Health Hub. I nearly said club again. Can your niche be too broad or too specific? It can be too broad, but it can't be too specific, in my view. Good. Super news. Yeah. Put your energy into it. Listen, you know, when people ask me about this, like, should I do YouTube for my podcast? Like, why is my podcast not growing? You don't expect your shoulders to grow if you don't do exercise and feed them. All right. You don't expect your musical skill on the guitar to get better unless you practice. You don't expect your business to grow until you put the time into it to grow it. The podcast is the same. You can't just publish stuff. I could go over to the guitar and play a G, a C, and a D, learn every song on the planet that was a rock and roll song with just those 3 chords. And frankly, I wouldn't get better, but I'd still feel good because I was doing. So I want you to just go and listen to the last episode of the Accelerator that I did, which is purposeful podcasting. It's all about being purposeful. All right. What is the time of day for office hours? The office. Oh, I should put that on the dashboard, actually. Let's have a quick look. That's a good question, that Doug. I'll put that on the dashboard because I think I've omitted that from the dashboard. That is 11 a.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. UK, or 8 a.m. Pacific time every single Friday. Right? 11 a.m. Eastern is the linchpin. Let me, I'll edit the page for that right now. Oh, no, it does say it. My bad. Yeah, my bad. I just missed it. So, yeah, 11 a.m. Eastern, Doug. How can you put internet links in your podcast? Put them in your show notes or in your calls to action on Captivate. We've got tutorials for that. Also, we might be working on something else for that as well. All right, team. Time to go. Thank you so much for this. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. There's a support link over on Captivate. If you use Captivate, support chat as always. There's a support button at the bottom of Podcast Success Academy. You can reach out to us as always. Diane, we have something special for those. All right. So keep your eyes peeled on those coming soon. We will be announcing something shortly for those. We didn't want to dilute this launch with announcing something else. So keep an eye on those. All right. That's a great question, Diane. Oh, it's a real pleasure. Thank you very much to everyone. I appreciate it. Please stay safe. Let me know how you get along with the course. I hope to see you on the office hours every single week. Start the course. Let's get you launched. Let's get you progressing. Let's build that audio influence. Let's build your audience. Let's get you monetizing. And let's turn that podcast dream, that idea, that notion that you've got into the success that we know that we can achieve together. All right. So stay safe. Please look after yourselves and please let me know what I can do. Thank you to Diane, to Rabrina. Thank you to Michael. Thank you to Ashley. Thank you to Doug. Thank you to Kipper, to Tony. Thank you to Louis. Thank to Cindy. Thank you to Sam, Danny, and Tiff here on the Rebel Based Media team. Much love, everyone. Enjoy yourselves and welcome to the Podcast Launch Accelerator.